you look at the trajectory of both of the companies at the moment, and they're both going in two drastically different directions, right? Like Sony is kind of in a tailspin at this point. They're in I mean, they're in a rough situation, whether you like it or not, whether you're on that side or like you think that it's a legitimate retiring of Jim or like all these people that are leaving these companies, like there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of moving and shaking. Even if you look at just the Sony side, I mean, what we just saw that they lost another 100 people over at Bungie. Or sorry, it wasn't 100 at Bungie, was it? They
100,
lost
yeah.
at Bungie. They lost like they've been losing people left and right, and then they just lost more people over there.
They lost some big people too.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't just
And
like yeah.
it's it's continuing to become more of like a tailspin, which is kind of bothersome. Like you've got Connie Booth that like even when we were listening to Jaffe and he was kind of talking about it, he mentioned the fact that like Jaffe was going, or sorry, that Connie was going, and potentially that was a firing, potentially it was a retirement. Like we don't know the full story, but it kind of sounds like it was a firing on that one. And then you're losing people at Insomniac. Like it's kind of a tailspin at this moment. And then you've got, so you see how they're doing it versus like Xbox. Yeah, there's a few changes that have been happening, but those have been changes where like someone's shifting into that position directly. Like they had a plan, they had an exit strategy, right? Like we look at things in the business side, and when you do these things, if it's expected, if you know you're going to get rid of that person, you have an exit strategy. You have someone lined up for that position. You're preparing ahead of time. I don't see that on Sony's side at the moment. Microsoft has people that they've been shifting into play. Like you look at it and it looks like they're starting to put some of these people into play to fill these positions. Sony, like just like their roadmap right now, there's a big question mark of what's going on. Like what's going on, what's happening, where are we at? And it's just it's a weird time. It's a weird time. Like I would argue if you're someone that has a PS5 right now, given the roadmap that we know of at the moment, I'd be a little concerned. Like I'm not trying to be fanboy or anything like that. Like you look at a situation like this, and it's the same situation. It's the same roadmap that we saw when Xbox was making a bunch of changes just a few years ago. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, cool, they bought these new companies. But where are the results? Where are things coming? Like where am I going to benefit as a consumer? And it took years, and that makes me nervous. Like if it took that much time for Microsoft, hopefully it doesn't take the same amount of time for Sony. Hopefully they already have things already lined up. But if it does take a while, which it probably will, because this stuff takes a while to roll up, where are they at? Like what is the roadmap?
Yeah,
Who are they
well,
going to replace those
to
positions
add to
with?
that real quick, they did mention that they're going to rely on like third party like partnerships or something like that for a while.
No.
So that makes you
Which
think that
which
yeah.
will again we'll go back to the Microsoft side, because lest anyone call me a fanboy one way or another, I'll give you the facts on it, both sides of it, right? Microsoft did the exact same thing with Xbox One. They counted on third parties and groups and deals that they made to get games out there. You look at something like Dead Rising 3, you look at these different games, they focus so hard on third party instead of being even concerned about what was going on the first party side of things. And we saw how that turned out. We saw a few years that were really turbulent because of the fact that they focused more on third party instead of building up their first party, bolstering their first party. And so that makes me nervous. Like, again, I as far as it goes for me, I don't have a PS5. I didn't like the Eye of Sauron, the massive 19 inches of venom. I wasn't a big fan of that. And I was waiting for like a good revision as far as a console side of things went to get me a console version. But at the same time, like the PS5 is continuing to be negated as a purchase for me because the games will come to PC. It's just like Microsoft. If you don't like the frames per second that you're getting on the console, you can play it on PC. It's there. And that's going to be the same thing with PS5 as time goes on. Um, but it's a weird time. It's a weird time for Sony. They're losing a lot of key players, they're losing a lot of people in general, and they're having a lot of changes all at once. And
Oh,
I literally, it feels just like Microsoft a few years ago. But this goes back to the same thing we see every generation, right? It's the playbook where it goes, Microsoft does really good one year, Sony craps the bed, and then they flip role. And all of a sudden, PlayStation's doing amazing, Microsoft screws up. It just goes back and forth over and over again. But I feel like some of the people that they're losing, this might be kind of a more impactful loss for Sony, especially given the financial situation that they're in.
Yeah, I also I want to add to that before I pass it to Lou that I feel like this time because Microsoft for the first time is all in gaming. I think they're better set up for not only like this console but the next one and in the future. Like they have the studios to continue to make, well, hopefully, knock on wood that this happened. Uh, they have the studios to continue to bring the content. They already have the games as a service, Lou. they have them established already, so they
mhm.
don't need that many. They don't need to bring that many because they just can continue to support those, and eventually, maybe like update them, etc. And they can bring us more like single player games or even co-op games or different type of games like they've been doing, bringing different ideas. I feel like they can continue to do that and continue to innovate. As of on the Sony side, unfortunately, I think because the way that they've been like kind of complacent because of course because of all the all the advantage they had last generation were in and they focus on one type of game. Now that they're looking at how like the industry has shifted and you kind of need these games as a service to kind of like help fund the other games, now they're kind of like lost in a way.
So
Yeah,
you invest in having 12 games as a service
exactly. That's a
when
dumb
when
move.
maybe when maybe a quarter of
Let's
them
let's let's let's
ultimately will
let's let's
actually succeed.
let's bring
Exactly.
let,
Because
let's
they're
bring
trying to catch up right away.
let's
Like
bring let's bring
PC did it.
let's bring something up because I'm gonna tell you something. Tell me let's bring this into argument. Has Nintendo changed the way how they release games? Tell me about that.
No, because
No. Yeah,
Nintendo's a different
wait,
No,
story.
wait, 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 wait,
Nintendo's
wait.
Nintendo's
whole
a
Let me
different
get.
special
animal.
Wait,
story. Crazy.
wait,
It's a
wait.
whole different
Let me
animal. You can't
let
even
wait,
compare it.
wait, 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 wait a minute. This is why I bring Nintendo up.